Welcome on into the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. I'm your host, Mike Z, and thank you so much for turning us up and turning us on. Day 3 from SEC Media Days here at the College Football Hall of Fame. Joining me as he does every single week, twice this week, is my good friend Jacob Goins. It's time to get going. We're getting to going. We've had a chance to hear from Hugh Freeze. We've also had a chance to hear from a lot of other SEC coaches this week. Brent Venables went today. Kalen DeBoer was on the podium today. Jacob, I think I feel more confident about Auburn's approach to NIL now that I've had a chance to hear from some other coaches and some anonymous GMs who are here at Media Days essentially saying, look, schools are out there spending fake money they don't have and they're way over their cap, or they've blown a third of their cap on a few five-star players based on the going rate for a five-star player right now. How do you feel about Hugh Freeze and John Cohen and how they're looking at this thing now that we know a little bit more about how teams are treating this? Greg Sankey said that he's frustrated that people ask for guardrails and then once they got them, they essentially are mounting legal challenges to it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways to look at this and take this. And I think what I'm walking away with is the idea that John Cohen and Hugh Freeze are united and they are sticking to their guns. They have a belief and they're going to run with it. And they believe that they're right. And Mike, you and I have talked. Maybe they are and maybe they aren't. But yeah, the more I hear some of these other coaches talk about, we don't know if there are regulations or if they're going to be applied or if there's punishments or anything. Some teams are spending buku kinds of money and maybe they have it, maybe they don't. I mean, we don't know any of that. But I feel like John Cohen and Hugh Freeze have decided that their way is the best way, it's the safe way, and it's the right way. And the thing that stood out to me was that they have talked about, and John Cohen was big on this, you know this, he said, we're prepared to go in any direction. No matter what happens, we're prepared to go that way. And I think that's better this week than what we felt last week with some of the other comments we heard, and the fact that there are other plans in place in case it doesn't go exactly the way they think.
I think that's probably been my biggest thing is there's still time to pivot, Jacob, if it's not the right way. And I don't know that the way Auburn's recruited the last couple of years, that one down recruiting class really sets you back years. It's not as if they're going to get no athletes in this class. It may be that they're still filling needs. They're still getting guys in who will be useful to the program. Now, you've got to retain those guys. The other part of this is they're spending more money, they say, on roster retention than roster acquisition right now. There's a cost now with a cap to recruiting top 10 recruiting classes. Those guys want more money to stay, especially if they excel. Do you see this balancing out at some point for schools who are maybe ahead of the curve, but they've got stacked rosters next year and they can't go out and get that because they're going to have to start spending money on roster retention?
I think it's going to be like the pros, like you see in the NFL or MLB or whatever professional sports league that you see. I mean, other than like the Dodgers and the Yankees in baseball, because the cap and everything is broken in that sport, most professional sports teams don't go and spend all their money every single year. You can't sign the hottest free agent every single summer in NBA because you can't afford it. You have to learn and you have to stack and you have to prepare to make those types of moves. And I think the closer we get in college athletics to the professional model of salary caps and just salaries in general, contracts and years built into that and guarantees and options, like all of those terms you hear on the professional sports side, the closer we get to that in college, the more I think it will be that way, Mike, of, well, we'd love to have a 5-star quarterback in 2028, but we know that there's a good one in 2029, and maybe we need to save up a little bit more so we have a chance at him or that running back or that safety or whoever. You're going to have to start actually managing your money and actually diversifying how you spend it rather than just making all these promises, signing all these checks, and figuring it out later.
Greg Sankey said, if you don't want the guardrails, just say so, and we'll let you spend into oblivion and be done with it, right? Because the SEC schools, particularly the ones at the top that are making it every year, will definitely spend into oblivion to stay at the top. And that's a coach's wet dream, right? Is to be able to just go out and get whatever player you want because there's an unlimited bucket of money, right? So kind of just close this segment. where do you see Auburn at the end of the year? They've got to win football games. That's the bottom line. All this talk about recruiting, it's not going to mean anything if they go out and they lose 5, 6, 7 games. Hopefully not this season. It's going to be a rough one. And if they're under 500, Auburn will definitely be looking for a new coach. But I think they'll be looking for a new AD as well, too. But, you know, where do you see Auburn now that you've heard where all the other teams in the league are at?
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that Freeze likes his team. That was his message, that he loves the guys, he loves their chemistry, he loves the athleticism. He said, look, flat out, plain and simple, we're bigger, faster, stronger. We are better than we were last year. And that's what you want to hear, because you were 5-7 last year. That was probably, Mike, that was probably a 7 or 8 win team roster-wise a year ago, talent-wise a year ago. They just didn't pull it off. And so if the roster is better, as we think it is, just by looking at it and by Hugh Freeze telling us that tells me this is an 8-9 win football team if everything works out the way that it's supposed to. And with the schedule after the Georgia game, it lines up to do just that. The Missouris, Arkansas, Kentuckys, Vanderbilts win your non-con games as well. I mean, there's 7 right there. All you got to do is beat Baylor or Texas A&M or Oklahoma, or God forbid you actually beat one of your rivals for the first time in however long it's been. You're 0-4 if you're Hugh Freeze against those two. You get a couple of those wins, you crush your win total, you already got several wins, and you've exceeded everybody's expectations. So that's what I expect Auburn to do. I expect 8 wins, if not better, this year.
Went on the Feinbaum show yesterday and, stated Auburn doesn't have a signature win under Hugh Freeze. This has to be the year that you get one. Jacob Goins, host of On the Line Sports Talk on ESPN 1067. Go check him out. Check us out here tomorrow at SEC Media Days. This segment is brought to you by friends at CameraGraphics.net. Thanks to them for providing all the wonderful equipment that we filmed today's interview with. All our equipment, all our interviews this week filmed on equipment provided by them. We appreciate them for sponsoring this segment. We're signing off, and as always, War Eagle.